Okay, guys. So yesterday we started our introduction to HTML, and in session yesterday we talked about the function of HTML in front-end web development. We also talked about the function of CSS, and then we talked about the function of JavaScript as well. So we are to look at some of these key topics under HTML. What is HTML, and I think we were able to play with that yesterday. Then we wanted to also looked at HTML document structure, and then we started looking at text formatting and elements. Then we ran out of time, so we're going to continue from there today. That's from text formatting and elements, right? Then we'll speed up and see how much we can cover, so we can finish this this scheme that was planned for HTML, so we can go into the main topic of today, which is day 2, mastering CSS. And in this day 2, we'll also be looking at what CSS is. We'll look at CSS selectors, CSS colors and background, CSS typography, right? In fact, we can actually merge the two and be going together at the same time, right? I hope that makes sense. We are still yet to have more people join, but we're still going to continue, hoping they will join us soon. So, okay, let's dive straight into the business of the day. All right, as usual, I have to stop sharing and then share my full screen, so you can see my VS Code. So I'll stop sharing, and then I'll share my entire screen. Yes. So, okay, like I said, we'll begin from text formatting and elements, right? So I'll go ahead and launch my VS Code. So what you need to do is, after you have it installed in your system, is just to search VS, and then immediately it pops up here. Let me open a new window. So when I open a new window, this is how it's going to pop up. This way, anytime you open a new window, this is what you're definitely going to see, right? This welcome tab will always be open. So we can go ahead and close this tab, right? So, okay, we can, then I just wanted us to make use of this Explorer to open our files, right? Beside this Explorer, when also, again, if you open VS Code for, let's say I open new window of VS Code, you will notice that welcome tab, yes, this welcome tab will always show you the recent folders you worked with. Like this was the folder we were working with yesterday. We created this folder, IC Zoid training, and then it was on our desktop. You can see the link to that folder. Or we can as well go straight and open a file or open a folder from this place as well. Or if you don't want to make use of this tab, you can come to this Explorer section, and then you click on this open folder, and then you see it will load up your system interface for you to select the folder you want to open, right? So if you don't want to make use of that option, you can as well also make use of this option where you have open folder here. You can click on this open folder, and then it shows you this interface where you can select the folder you want to open using VS Code. Or you can easily pick from these recent files, sorry, these recent items here, right? So this was the recent item we worked on. All what you need to do is just to click on it, and then it loads up. So this was the file we worked on yesterday, right? So if I click here now, you see the folder is being listed here, the folder that is currently open. So yesterday we talked about extensions, and then we were able to install one of the extensions called Live Server, right? Live Server. And we said the essence of this Live Server is just to help us create some sort of local server, so that instead of anytime we make changes to our code, we have to go refresh. We don't have to be doing that, right? The Live Server automatically reloads any change that we make in our code, right? So that was the essence of this live server extension that we installed yesterday. So anytime you have this open up and you want to get rid of it, you can just click here. Okay, click back on it again and you see that panel will disappear. Right? So now to launch, open this code using our VS Code. What we need to do is just come to the bottom right here. You see go live. Yeah, you can see 2 go live on my system because I have 2 different versions of live server installed. This was the one I was actually using, but yesterday during our lesson, it was when I installed this one, right? So we can click on go live here, then it will load up and is starting. You can see starting, right? Immediately starts is going to automatically open this code with my default browser. Yeah, you see it just loads up and then open the browser for me. So now to be sure it's working, let me permit me to split my screen so that I could have this on one side. Great. So now see, anytime I make changes here, if I delete this for instance and then I save my code, you see it automatically refreshes, and then see the last heading element has disappeared. So let's say if I take all of this, highlight all of this and delete, I save, you see we have this now. So basically, like we said earlier, we'll be looking at our first topic is going to be text formatting and elements. Text formatting and element. So here I see we can see the changes here, right? So under text formatting and element, we talked about the heading. We talked about the heading tag, where we said that is basically used to define the hierarchy and the structure of the content on a web page, right? And we say HTML basically provides 6 levels of heading, and this ranges from H1 to H6, and H1 is the highest level, right? From H1 to H6. So as the number increases, the font decreases. H1, this is the highest level. H2, the next highest level. But at this point in time, when you have H2, let's say maybe heading to, like I explained in the previous session, you notice that the font reduces in sizes, right? So H1 has the highest level. Please don't mistake it. It's not maybe because the number is large, then you should have the highest hierarchy, right? No, the smaller the number, the bigger the font. Just remember that. The logic is the smaller, the bigger. The smaller, the bigger, right? And H6, which has the highest number, has the lowest level. So basically, headings are typically used to title sections or subsections of a web page. They are typically used to title sections or subsections of the web page. Please put that in mind. So the next element we'll be looking at is the P tag. We'll be looking at the P tag. Hello guys, can you hear me? Hello, if you can hear me. Okay,
yes,
great.
yes.
All right, thank you. So the next element.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, thank you very much. So the next one we'll be looking at is the P tag. The P tag. Remember, like I explained yesterday, this is the opening tag, right? And then this is the closing tag. How can you differentiate them? The closing has a forward slash. This is a closing. It has a forward slash before the name of the tag, right? Then in between this, that's where you can now generate your content. So this P tag, this is a P tag called a paragraph tag. It's a paragraph. The normal paragraph, you know, right? Paragraph, you know, the normal paragraph. This paragraph. So basically, this element is used to define paragraphs of a text, right? It is used to group and structure related sentences or block of text together. And it automatically creates some sort of line break between before and after the paragraph. This is what I'm trying to say. Let's say maybe I have a paragraph, like, let me generate some random text. So this is like, oh, okay, that paragraph is quite long. What's happening? Okay, this paragraph is too much. Let me reduce this content, or let me chop it off and make 2 paragraphs out of it. Command X. Okay, let's say I have another paragraph here and paste that content. And I save this. This is what I was trying to explain, right? That the P tag, it automatically creates a line break before and after the paragraph. If you notice that after this heading tag, there's some sort of line break here. After this paragraph, there's another line break here. So by it automatically, let's say maybe I create another paragraph. Command X, save it, P tag, save this. Now you see another break here. Let's say maybe I reduce the first one again. Let me reduce this first one, Command X. And then the P tag, I paste the content there. You notice this is paragraph, another paragraph, another paragraph. So automatically it creates that distinction for you, right? And remember, it is just used to group and structure related sentences or block of text together. In simple terms, when you're writing your letter, for example, we all know that from our school experience, they tell you that the first paragraph is an introduction paragraph. You know that part. So basically everything you're writing within that particular paragraph, it's more or less the introduction of a letter. Then maybe the last paragraph, they tell, okay, this is like the concluding paragraph. That's where you can do all the remarks and blah, 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 whatever it is, right? So, and then everything, all the sentences within the last paragraph are tailored towards maybe the concluding part of our writing. That's for English now, right? So same works for our HTML and CSS code, right? So our HTML code, I don't know, I can hear in the background. Friday. Okay, let me mute you. Okay. So same thing works here. Basically, the paragraph, you're grouping related sentences or block of text together. And that's it for the P tag. So maybe when if you check some site and then you notice that, okay, there are some sort of demarcation here. Yeah, maybe these are actually paragraphs, right? They are paragraphs. I hope that makes sense. So actually, now let's be making use of our heading tag. So maybe I can have my H2 here. This H2, we talked about the paragraph. These are paragraph tag or paragraph, the P element or the paragraph element. Yep. So now you can see I have already started making use of our heading tags. See, the first one is bold to show that, okay, this is like the main topic we're treating, right? So this is like a subtopic under it, right? So maybe if I go down, then the next thing we'll be looking at is line break, another element, line break. So maybe I can have another H2 here. I can say, okay, the next element we're talking about is line breaks, for instance, line breaks. All right, so if I scroll down, you see that, okay, now this is another heading, line breaks. So now for these line breaks, basically the line breaks, is used to insert a line break. That's like, it's basically used to break a line, just as the name implies, right? It's just used to break a line, and you can break a line within a paragraph or a block of text. It allows you to create a new line without a new paragraph. Now, this is what I'm trying to say, if that sounds too much, right? Okay, what I'm trying to say, you notice that when we made use of a P tag here, it automatically breaks the line. Anytime we make use of a P tags, it creates some sort of line demarcation, right? So, but what if a situation whereby maybe I just want to break, maybe I have a P tag here. You know what the P tag is, right? It holds related contents where I write something like, okay, something like my name is Samuel. and I am a software engineer. Full stop. This is just a simple sentence. So if I scroll down, you can see it here. My name is Samuel and I'm a software engineer. Okay, then what if I want to now break this line here? Maybe after this Samuel, and then I want to break it here again. Does that mean, yeah, I'll put a P tag here. This will have it be in a P tag. Even just and will be in a P tag, and then this will be in a P tag. And that's like 3 P tags, right? You don't really need that here, because this sentence is just, it's like related. It's like a collection of related items. Like I'm trying to pass a single message, right? But I just feel that, okay, let me break this thing to maybe make it look nice or something, right? So at that point in time, I don't need to say, okay, my name is Samuel, it's a paragraph, and another paragraph. I'm a software engineer, another paragraph, right? You could just easily come in between somewhere and then put a line break. That's the BR tag here, the BR tag. And then you notice that this line has broken. And then if I come after the and, again, I can still pick another BR tag, save. You notice that my name is Samuel, there's a breakage, and there's a breakage, I'm a software engineer. And if you notice this breakage, the spacing between the first sentence or the first phrase or the first part of the sentence and the second and the third, the spaces are not much compared to when you use an actual P tag, as you can see here, right? Yeah, I said from the beginning of the class that, okay, an element has an opening tag and then a closing tag. You may ask, but why is it that this BR you wrote here now, you didn't write it like BR, then another P, okay, /BR, like this. Yeah, maybe, let me fix it properly. Something like this. Yeah, because this is what I said. Ideally, an actual HTML contains, right? But now, if we go further, you discover that there are some elements that are self-closing tags. They are self-closing tag. That's them themselves. Okay, this is what I mean. Ideally, HTML element has, this is the opening tag, this is the closing tag. And then I'm saying again that there are some elements that are self-closing. That's them themselves have both opening and closing inside of them, like BR, for instance, here. BR here, for instance, it's like, this is self-closing tag. There are a couple of them out there that will also make use of them going further. There are a whole lot of them out there. There are a bunch of them out there. But don't try to stress your brain over so much, right? We'll take it one step at a time. Is that okay? We'll take it one step at a time. So all of this will make sense maybe when you start actually working on it, right? The more you make use of it, the more everything becomes very familiar with you, and the more you can easily use everything. I didn't wake up one day and then started writing HTML. It's something that happened over time. I've been on this for years, right? So if it doesn't make sense, don't worry, don't give a shit. It's going to make sense. It's definitely going to make sense. So this, but just know, put at the back of your mind that HTML elements have an opening and then a closing tag. But there are some other elements that are self-closing, like this, for instance. Like there's still another one. Let's say I want to put some sort of a line here. I can do something like HR. This is a self-closing. I save it. Let me show you the effect of this guy. Is the one that brought up this line for us here. The HR, horizontal rule, right? So maybe if I want to create another demarcation after line break, after H2, I can come here, HR, I save this guy. You notice that this same line is here again. If I go up, this line is here, and this line is here. These are self-closing tags. I want to believe that makes sense. Okay, let's proceed. So the next part of the text formatting we'll be looking at is, okay, as usual, let's make use of our heading 2 tag. So we can have H2 again. We'll be talking about text formatting properly now. We'll be talking about text formatting properly. Text formatting. So here now we'll be doing so much of the text formatting. Great. So in this, so now this is it, right? Let's put our horizontal row. I can put my HR here. Great, this is the row. Okay, you also notice me that sometimes I'll just put a P, and then when I hit enter, it automatically generates open and a closing tag. I'm making use of an extension. Remember, I told you that a bunch of those guys out there, I'm making use of an extension. I think that's auto, yeah, auto. Yeah, I think this, yeah, autocomplete tag. This is the name of the extension. You can also install it, right? Autocomplete tag. It just helps you run all those tags for you, right? Then I'm also, you see, these are some of the extensions I've installed. I have an auto close tag, auto rename tag. This auto rename tag, let me show how it works. Let's say maybe I come here, for example. Let me write some sentence here. Okay. Let me generate a short sentence using Lorem 20. Example. So this is the text I've generated. This is it, right? So let's say I want to change this to maybe a H2, for example. By the time I delete this first P tag, you notice that the next one also has deleted. It's an extension doing that for me. If I just type, for example, H4, you notice H4 is also being written down here. That's the use of that extension I just showed you now, right? When I save, you see this is now a heading 4 tag, right? But I want this to be a P tag. So let me undo, and bring back my P tag. So I have my P tag back, right? So looking at text formatting, we'll be looking at that a lot of elements there that we can basically use to format our text, right? We have, we'll be making use of, there's one called strong. Let me put it here, you see. Let's see. Okay, let me put a new P tag. I can say, okay, welcome to day 2 of our front end web development training. Save this. So now, okay, I want to highlight some text. Like I want to make them maybe like some sort of I want to indicate importance, like, okay, day 2. In this sentence, day 2 is very important to me. So how can I make it like somebody looking at you that, okay, this part is like you write a sentence, then you make some part very bold so that it captures the reader's attention. Remember, sometimes back then we were in school, if you're reading a particular material and then you want to maybe keep certain lines very, okay, when you come back to that material, you want some key lines, you want to highlight them. We easily pick a pen and then some sort of draw a line on the right, or some of us were fortunate enough to have some colored markers. You can just use the colored marker to paint that particular line so that when you come back, okay, once you start flipping through the material, you can easily, your attention is easily caught by those those highlights, right? So maybe if I want to do something like that, we have different tags for that as well. There's a tag called strong, this strong, right? Maybe, okay, yeah, I wanted to highlight welcome to, then my day 2 will be in between. If I save this, you notice that day 2 is made bold here, right? Some sort of emphasis, right? Some sort of showing a strong importance to this particular word, right? So it typically strong display your text in bold. Yes, you also discover that there's still another element that still acts similar to strong. It is called bold. For example, let's say maybe, and that bold, you basically use the B, just letter B, right? Let's say I put this, let me cut that and put it in between here. You see, welcome to day 2 of our front end. Both of them showing similar effect, right? Great. Then there's still another one. Let's say, okay, I want to put this web develop, maybe the development, just the development in italics form, right? I could use some sort of emphasis. This is a tag, then I place it in between. You can see development written in italic form, right? So this is also used to show emphasis like the other one. It's just to highlight the text, and then this also display the text in italics or in italics form, right? Then beside using the emphasis tag, let's say maybe there's still another one that acts the same as the emphasis. It's the I, just the I tag. If I paste this welcome inside, you see welcome and then development appearing the same. But remember, for this guy, I made use of emphasis. For this guy, I made use of the I tag. For this guy, I made use of the EM. Then for this guy, I made use of strong. And then for this guy, I made use of I. Both of them acting almost similar in the same way, right? Then, okay, what if I want to now underline? You can also underline, right? Let's say maybe I want to underline this guy, for instance, using this a U tag, U. I paste this in between. You now see training is being underlined. So these are the various ways you can actually format your text, right? Okay, what if I want to do, maybe I want to make it bold and then make it in italics form, and then I want to also underline it. It's still possible, right? Maybe I could just write something like, what am I going to write? What am I going to write? Okay, maybe let's say I have something like this section is, oh, okay, let me see something like, in this section, we are learning text formatting. Stuff. So this text formatting is important to me. So let me cut it out. And then I want it to be italics form. I paste it. I save it. Let's go down. It is here in italics form, right? Okay, I want it all to be in bold. So I can cut this entire thing, put a bold or emphasis, right? Paste it inside, save it. You notice it is bold and it's also in italics form. So this is what we refer to as element nesting. That you can have an element inside another element, but make sure as this one is starting, it's closing, right? They are all inside of this. Okay, what if I want to underline this guy? Let me cut it. Command X, U to underline.
Sir, please.
Paste it. I save.
Please, I'm sorry, I'm here to disturb again. Did you maximize your page?
I actually splitted my screen so that I can be seeing the browser, the output,
okay.
and then the
Okay.
the VS Code.
It's all right.
All right, that's fine. Okay, so basically, if you notice now, you can see the first part in italics form. The next part is made bold. The last section is underlined, right? But all of this, you can still handle it perfectly well with CSS, right? Yeah, I hope that makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, finally for text formatting, we have what is refers to as for text formatting and elements. We have, let me see, okay, our last H2 on this guy. Now we can see we have something refers to as list. We'll be talking about list here. So this is list. So let me put my ruler HR. You can see my ruler here. So basically for the list, we what the list does is, for example, maybe if you're typing, right, you usually write numbers. Okay, you can make a list of your items. Okay, you can choose something like, okay, number 1, I want to buy, maybe if you're going to the market, you make a list, right? So maybe I want to have something like maybe a P tag. I have something like list of things. Okay, list of the core front end technologies, right? So I want to make a list of the core front-end technologies. And we know that the core front-end technologies, we have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So how do you make it in form of a list? You make use of the UL, right? UL, receive. Sorry, my printer is misbehaving. I don't know what's this. Okay, I think maybe I did something wrong. What have I done wrong? Okay, don't worry, let's keep going. This shouldn't delay me. Something is wrong. Okay, don't worry, we'll keep going. Figure that out. Okay, so I want to make a list. So in making my list, I can have UL, right? So in between the UL, I can have LI. So UL here stands for, the U stands for unordered list. L stands for list. LI here stands for list item, right? So maybe, for example, if I write something like, okay, maybe the first thing to learn is HTML. You can see HTML. There's a dot that came. I didn't put that. Then the next item, list item, sorry. The next list item is CSS. I'll save this. You see CSS is right here. Then the last list item, sorry for the caps, is JavaScript. JavaScript. And I save this guy. You see JavaScript is here, right? This is an unordered list. But what if I want HTML to put numbers instead of these dots here for me? It means I'm going to change this from UL to OL, ordered list. I save, you can see 1, 2, 3. What if I don't want 1, 2, 3? I want to use something like alphabet. You can specify an attribute called type. And I want to make use of maybe small or capital letter A. If I want small a, you can see it. If I want it to be in big letters, you can save this, and then you can see caps letters popping up, right? What if I want Roman numerals? Same, I save this guy, you can see Roman numerals. What if I want caps, Roman numerals, caps? I save it, you can see it coming here, right? So with this type attribute for ordered list, ordered, you can specify how you want to label it. Is it, now if you see, if I hover over this guy, you can see small letter A, lowercase letters, capital E indicates uppercase letters, and the likes. You can see it here, right? Good. So if I basically want to make a list, I make use of this UL for unordered list, or you make use of OL for OL for ordered list, UL for unordered list. I want to believe that makes sense, right? So that will be it for text formatting and elements. I don't know if somebody has a question about this section. You can drop it in the chat section, or you can unmute yourself and ask. So we can continue. I have just a minute to do that. That's if anybody has a question.
Hello. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, good evening.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. I think your network is breaking. Your network is breaking. You can just type the question in the chat section. If you can hear me, you can just go ahead and type the question in the chat section. Yeah. All right, thank you very much. So any other question? Okay, which means I can continue.
I should ask a question. At a point beneath the board, we are seeing prettier highlighted, and then you made a comment of having error somewhere. Could it be that whenever prettier is being highlighted, there's an error?
Sometimes it could even be the extension itself having some maybe technical errors. Oh, I didn't talk about Prettier. Prettier is another extension that helps format. If you notice, my code is some sort of well indented. You see that HTML starts here and then ends here. The other part is being pushed inside, right? And then you see there's some sort of nesting going on. You see body and then here. I don't know if you understand. Let's say maybe I put a tag. Where did I make use of such example? Yeah, maybe let's say I do something like, let me take this off. Come. Let me take this off. So basically what Prettier does, it just helps you to format your code to make it look well structured, like well organized. It's just organizing, it's an extension. So you can also install it here. All what you need to do is just search Prettier. This is Prettier. You see, let me open this code formatter. It just helps you format your code. That's just the job of Prettier. It doesn't do any other thing beside that. So maybe what can help you to know if maybe there's an error somewhere. Most times, if you make an error, you see the VS Code will throw an error. Let me show you that. Let me try and make a deliberate error somewhere. Sorry, let me fix this guy. Okay. Well, there's something showing on my screen. I'm trying to get rid of it. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So let me try to make an error. Let's say I delete this guy. There's supposed to be a closing tag here. Right? Let's say I didn't put it. Oh. Where did I remove that? Let me delete this one. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, maybe this is just a basic code. So it's, yeah, Prettier is helping me to prompt. Though, but the job of Prettier is not really to show you when there's an error in your code. It just helps you to format. But if there's something missing, sometimes it also try to flag that, oh, I can't format this thing because something is not right, right? It's just complaining that I can't format this thing. Something is not right. So let's check. You see, this is the opening tag of this guy, and then the closing tag is here. This is the opening tag and the closing as well. This is for the H2, and then this for our line break. So this is the first when we're talking making use of the BR tag, BR here as well. This is the opening for the P tag, the closing, the H2, the P, and then this is another P opening and close, another P opening and close. Yes, I think I've seen the error. Now, there's a P tag inside of this was not supposed to be here. Command X. P tag, save it. Now you notice Prettier has gone. That error has stopped, right? But I think, yes, that is it, right? So yeah, most times it just try to tell you that, oh, I can't format, all what it's trying to do is I can't format your code. Something is missing, but not like in all cases, it will prompt, right? Most times what you see is a red line. I don't know if I have any code base I can easily open and show you. I don't want to, yeah. Okay. Okay, let me not go into that now, right? Or let me just open a code base quickly and show you what you may likely get if you encounter an error. Simply. Okay, let me show you something. Okay, this is a different work entirely.
Hello, sir.
Please don't. Yeah, let me just show you something real quick and then we'll be done here.
Okay.
Okay, let's say maybe I kind of delete this line and I save it. Can you see? VS Code is complaining that, oh, something is not right. It actually underlines it red. You see it red that, oh, this is not right. I hope that makes sense.
Very well, sir.
Great. All right. So can we proceed? Oh, yeah, you wanted to ask a question.
Yes, I want to ask a question based on this auto complete. Particular one is not supposed to stop.
I didn't catch that.
The auto completion. Which particular one are you advising someone to install?
Those extensions that are actually pretty much out there, right? For me, how I basically know which to make use of is sometimes when you open a particular extension, you can see the number of downloads. Like this is the number of downloads. This is the number of downloads, about 34 million, right?
Okay.
And it has a good rating. So if I want to install an extension, I just see like maybe 340 downloads, maybe 1 star. Let me not waste my time. Let me look for something. I don't have all the time in the world, right? So basically, that's pretty it for that part, right? So the next thing we're supposed to be looking at today is media, right? Images, basically images. We look at div. Okay, yeah, basically images. Wow, I hope we can catch up with this time. All right, so maybe I have my H2 again, and under my H2, we are looking at images, media, right? Then I can put my HR for line break. Let me check this guy if it's currently up. Okay, let me open my live server. Yep, this is what we've been doing since. So I just wrote images and then inserted this here, right? So then for images, situation where maybe you want to display some images on your web page. On your web page, you make use of these tags to display your images tag. Yeah, you can actually also embed videos, audios, and all that, but that won't be covered in this section because of time. But the way of embedding them is pretty straightforward and same, but I believe you have a good understanding of this part. You can also make use of others and also pick out some materials. I've also prepared some very comprehensive notes that have been in talk with my team whether I should share them or not, but we'll see, conclude on that. Definitely I could still share them to you guys. So then for images, you can as well insert an image to your site using this tag img, and then this image has attributes. So when I talk about attributes basically they are like characteristics. When, let's say my attribute, it could be like, okay, Sam is fair in complexion, he's, yeah, whatever you want to say. Those are like some of my attributes. So even tags has attributes. You can specify attributes to them, right? So img tag, you also notice another thing. This is another self-closing tag. There's no opening and closing. This is also self-closing. And in between this src, this is where you specify the link to the image. For example, you can as well pull an online image. Let's say maybe I want to pick an image online and show my site. Maybe let me check something like Pixabay. I want to quickly extract an image here, and then so we can display. Open up, wasting my time. Yeah, let me just pick this guy. So now you can as well pick the URL. So see, once I just right click on this, I can go to copy image address, copy image address. I'm done with you. So this is where we are. I can paste this here, paste it, save it. So immediately I save it. Look at that images here. Let me open this wide. This is the image. We just copy the URL and paste it here. Besides copying images online, you can as well have images that are inside of that particular folder, and then you can see connect to them this way. Then there's another attribute called auth. What this auth does is basically like for screen readers, that's mean blind people, right? When they're trying to read your content, they can't see the image, right? But this auth now gives them some sort of description of what that thing is. And most times, again, when you notice if the image do not load, you see there's some sort of write-up. Let's say maybe I can, let me give this an attribute like image, let me call this an online image, for example, an online image. Now it's showing. Let me break this link so that I want to make this image not show. So let me just delete just one thing. Let me, the G here, I see. You notice this image not show, but there's something here, online image. And where's that online image coming from? Auth. So a situation where something failed on the server, the image do not display. At least this write-up should tell the user that, okay, this was supposed to be there. This image that is not, you're not seeing portrays this, right? Or this is the description of what you're missing out here, right? But if I put back this G and save this, you notice this image is back. Then there's still another attribute to this guy here. You can give it a width. I can actually give this image a width. Let's say I give it something like 200 pixels. You can see, right? You can also give it another attribute called a height. Let's say I also give it a height of 200 pixels again. You see the height has reduced. I hope that makes a lot of sense. So that's basically it for images. The auth, in the auth, you put a description. It has other attributes like the width and the height. You can also make use of CSS to do all this height and width thing, right? Great, I think we're making some progress. We're making some progress. All right, so the next the next thing we'll be looking at is divs and tables. Divs and tables. Divs and tables. Divs and tables. All right, let me open back my VS Code. So when you're talking about divs, that's divisions, right? Divisions. When you're talking about divs, it's just the div is a very versatile, it's a container. It's just like a container, right? That allows you to group and organize other HTML elements. It does not have any semantic meaning, right? There's no really good meaning attached to it. It's just primarily used to structure. It's just for structural purposes or applying CSS style. It's just like you have a bag, a big bag where you can put your purse and your wallet inside. Not like this big bag is actually serving any big purpose, right? But it just helps you now pack all these things together, right? So in writing divs, for example, this is just the, our H2 again. And here we're talking about divisions, that's div, right? So we can put a HR, save this guy. So divs, HR. So now I can have something like a div. This is a div, div. It's like, now what I just did is I just bought a bag. So inside this bag, I can put stuff inside p tag. Okay. This is a div. Oh, this is a paragraph tag inside, but this is an element now, a paragraph element inside a div element. I see. You see, you can't see any effect of it here, right? But it's actually showing behind, it's just a bag. So on top of it here, I can even have maybe a H2 talking about maybe this is a div. So you see, it's like you notice that this bag called division now is holding these elements for us, H3 and all this. It has now grouped this thing together, right? So you have so many of these divs in your web page. Basically, if you open the website there, when you start building a front-end application, there are a whole bunch, you write plenty of the divs. It's like just grouping your things. Okay, you group it here, you group this one this way, you group this one here. It's like you're having different bags to hold different items. So that maybe a situation where you want to style everything inside that item, or maybe a situation where you want to travel, you now just pick your traveling bag that contains other smaller bags and other packages inside of the main bag. So just look at the div as a big bag. It's a container. a versatile container that allows you to group, very important, organize, order HTML elements, right? So inside of this div, you can put a lot of stuff, right? So maybe going back to the codes we wrote earlier up here, yeah, you can make use of these arrows too. So going back to this code now, I can do sort that, okay, when I started this first H2, we wrote all of this P tag. So I can also, okay, everything about paragraph tab, cut it, and then I want to put it inside a div. I put it inside a div. So this, every H2, everything about paragraph elements is inside this div. So see, when I close this bar, you see everything is zipped here, right? Everything is now zipped here. So this is the next one here, where we talked about line break. So now all of this guy here can still cut it and then put it inside another bag. Save it. So when I close this bag, everything inside this bag is zipped. Then the next we talked about text formatting, where we wrote this bunch of stuffs here down to this point. Yeah, down to this point. So now I can pack everything here. Command X, put a bag, drop it inside and save it. So if I zip this bag, you see everything is inside. Now you see my bags, I have 1, 2, 3 major bags. The first bag contains everything about this, second bag, everything about this, third bag, everything about this. And then there's, okay, we talked about this guy up to, okay, yeah, just here, Command X. I can also put it inside the bag, paste it. Your bag must not contain plenty things, right? So don't feel that, okay, this is because it's just one thing. So yeah, you can just div here, put it inside, I save it. So this one too, this is the bag for it. I save this bag, I save it. So yeah, this is basically how the divs work. So that's just the function of the div. So lastly, we'll be looking at HTML tables. Well, tables and HTML forms. We'll talk about tables. So for tables, maybe when you open up your site and then you actually building a site, and let me put an H2 as usual and call this guy tables. I save it, and then I can put my line break here. I see, oh, I didn't open our code. Yeah, this is our code, tables. Let me split this screen. All right. Yeah, so tables, this is what we're looking at now. So basically for tables, tables is pretty simple as well. It's also just used for to present your data in rows and columns. You know, tables has rows and columns, right? So to create your table, you basically make use of the element table. It begins with table. Oh, sorry, table. Yeah, table. It begins with table, right? So remember, table has rows and column. So, and actually it's inside a row that you can demarcate a column, right? So table row, now TR stands for table row. This shows that, okay, this is a table row. And then if you want to have maybe like on a particular row, 2 columns, you can have something like TD. The TD stands, it's like, that's the table columns, right? So we'll save this TD, see, let's say maybe I have number 1 here. I save this guy. So maybe this table wants to, okay, let me call this guy column 1. Okay, and then I have another TD. I call this guy column 2. I save it. You see, look at it here. This is organized in a row. This is a column. So let's maybe I want to have another row, and then I have something like, okay, no, let me change. Instead of column 1, let's make it look more meaningful. Let's see, no, not this guy. Serial number, for example. And then let's see name. right? So the next column now, we could have a TD and then serial number 1, TD, the second column now, okay, somewhere. You can see, right? Let me make this look better. Table has a border. Maybe let me give a border of 1. You can see this is a border, right? The demarcation. It show that now actually there's a table because I now inserted this border. That's where you can actually see, okay, this is the row, right? Then this is the column. So you can have as many TRs and TDs as TRs for rows. Paste this guy, and then let me paste it again, save this guy. You can see many rows and you can have as multiple columns as you want in a particular row. So that's just how tables work, right? So the table is just to present your data in rows and columns, and you can actually style this thing to look very beautiful so that when it is displayed on the website, you'll be like, wow, what's that and all that. Yeah, but remember, like we've been saying, or like we said in our first session, this is HTML. This guy builds skeleton. It doesn't give beauty. It builds skeleton. So CSS is the one that makes this table looks, yeah, you can see it online there, feel it, you love what you see and all that is the work of CSS, right? So the last thing in our HTML agenda is forms and columns. So basically for forms and columns, let me open back our work. Where is it? Yep, here. So the next thing we say is forms and columns, right? So after this guy, we can have our H2 again. We call this guy forms and what was that again? Forms and input. Forms and input. Back to our code. So I call this forms and input. Let's call this forms and input. Forms and input. All right, so basically, what's forms and input? First off, let's put our HR, scroll down, forms and input, HR is there. All right, I don't want this thing. Let me give some sort of, okay, let me group all of this guy. Okay, what am I going to do now? Please, I want to write a line. Just ignore it if you don't understand what's happening. Adding button. 50 pixels. I'll show you why I'm doing this. Yes. Okay, let me increase this to 250. And go down. Okay, so that now I basically wanted this to come up. That's why I did, yeah, whatever I wrote up there. It's going to make a lot of sense. Don't bother about it for now. I just didn't want us to start stretching to look at it down the way it was, right? That's why I wrote that line. Now when you get to understand all that, they are very simple stuffs. Very simple stuff, trust me. All right, so for forms and input, basically when you want to log in, for example, right, you fill a form online. You supply your email. Yeah, you supply your email. You could choose your password, your phone number, and all that. So that is called, that thing you fill in is called a form, right? And then those places where you're fixing values, those are inputs, right? So maybe let's say you want to generate a form. It also begins with a form tag. A form. Yeah, let's ignore this for now. A form. So in between the form, you can have various inputs, right? Let's say maybe you can have an input. There's an input tag, input. It has an attribute type. So you can merely see this box. Now I see I can type here, like I've made space, right? So these inputs can have a label as well. Label. So what this label does, maybe I want to collect your full name, for example, full name. Column, save this guy. This. So now you see full name. I want you to supply your full name here. So if I click here now, you can now start typing. My full name is Samuel and until You get, basically that's it, right? So now, this has a for attribute. What does this mean? See, by now, if I click on this, nothing happens. It selects it, right? But I want it to be user-friendly so that maybe if a user jumps on my, want to fill this form, even if you click here, the cursor should start blinking here for you to start typing, right? So that's what this for guy stands for, right? So we have something here called an ID, and the ID, you give it an ID name for. This is a label for this input, so that once somebody clicks on this for, you see, immediately the cursor is activated. I didn't click here. If I click here, I can type, right? If I come and click here, it's still activated because of this for and ID. This for, the name here and this must be the same. It must be the same. So, right, so if you want to collect a text, for instance, you make use of type text, right? So maybe if I want to collect a password, you could make use of label for, maybe I want to collect password. This is for password. Here now I have password. I save this guy. And then after this, I have an input. And then instead of type here, you can change this type. Let me show you. I have different types to button. These are the whole different types you have. But I want the type of password. I save. So now, for the difference between here, you have this same space looking the same. But the difference between this, if I'm typing here, you can actually see what I'm typing, right? But if I come here and I type, you don't know what I'm typing. It's a password. You can't see it. Right? So when it's set to type password, that's what happens then, right? So I can also, let me put the BR here. BR. This is broken. Let me put another BR. Broken again, but this is a very bad way of arranging. Don't do this. Don't do it. There are better ways to achieve this, right? Don't do it. Just for beginners, sake, don't do this thing. It doesn't look nice. All right. So, but yeah, we got, at the end of the day, we got the result, right? So this, now if you click on this guy, see, this part is not activated. Why? Because I've not put an ID here. So if I come back here, I put an ID of password, I save this guy, come back, I click, you see it's activated. Great. All right, we're doing well. All right, so that's it for type text, type password. Okay, what if I want to find out if you are a male or female? I could have another one called label. I can have, okay, label. Let me call this male. And then let me just put this BRs here again so that we could have that demarcation. BR, okay, label. So I can have an input type here. So the name, the type now, I don't want it to be a text. I want it to be a checkbox. So immediately you see this, no, sorry. I don't want it to be a checkbox. I want it to be a radio button, a radio. See this? So now you click this if you're a male. So why is male coming after? Because this label is after it. So if I want it, okay, if I want it this way, the male after the button can rearrange like this, right? Male. So this name is what? This is gender, right? So I can even put a P tag here and call this gender. Save this guy. So gender is here, male or female. So now for female, permit me, copy this guy. And then I paste it back here. And then I change this one from male to female. And then I change, female. Type radio name this label. Label it for female. Remember, it must be the same with what you have for here. So the one on top, the label ID of this guy is male. The for must be the same, male. So that now, if you click here, it is highlighted. If you click on the name, it's still highlighted, right? So you notice that you can't be a male and a female at the same time. So if you click here, see, the other one is deactivated. But you can make the mistake of allowing somebody to choose this too. How can you make that mistake? If, for example, I come here, this name, and I forget to put gender here, you click. You see both of them are highlighted. So this field name is very important. This is what shows that both of them are referring to the same entity. So you have to leave this guy to be the same name, gender, so that you are referring to the same entity. Just one thing, right? One thing at a time. So that's it for checkbox. And trust me, there are a whole lot of those input tags out there, right? So you remember, yeah, I started playing with radio button. Let me just, already I've started that, so let me just make use of it. So let me say, okay, p tag, I have something like.
Hello, sir, I have a question.
Ask me.
Okay, thank you, sir. There are some inputs that when you look at it, you see that they have icons. So how do one go about that?
An eye.
To add an icon at the, let's say, at the left-hand side of your input.
Add an icon.
That's, for instance, now, yes, that, for instance, this input that has name in your browser, that you don't want this name here to show, but you want the name to show inside the input with an icon, let's say a phone icon, or
okay, yeah, I understand. Yeah, I get. All right, that makes sense, right? Yeah, it's all those are part of. They're just very fancy things that are easy. You can actually put that image and then arrange the whole thing, right? Maybe when we are done, remember the last day we are going to bring everything together. So basically, I'm looking at, we can even design something like a registration form and handle it with JavaScript, right? So inside this, again, you can see things like, let me give you an example. Let me write something here. You have another attribute called placeholder. You can see something like enter your name. Save this. Can you see this? But when I click, I can start typing. That goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you see, yeah, something, an icon like maybe for email, for instance, you see something like an envelope, right?
Yes, for email.
Yeah, or email, I get, understand, right? So all those are just icons that are being brought, arranged together. Don't worry, we'll definitely do something like that. We'll bring everything together, right? All right, so basically for, yeah, courses, I can have something here like maybe choose a course. Then I could have something like input. Instead of text, I can change this guy to checkbox. And then I can have a label for it and call this guy HTML. I save it. Then let me just copy all of this, paste it again. So this guy HTML, this guy CSS, this guy JS. I save this, right? So let me just pick this line break, copy them, paste it here. This is not a good practice. Paste it here. So now I have choose a course. You can choose. These are check boxes. You can check boxes, just as the name implies. You're checking the boxes. So you see check a box. That's just it, right? So there are other, you can as well. Lastly, oh God, there's another one called input. Maybe I have something like label for let me call this passport, for example. Passport. See this guy save here. Then I have, come back. I have an input here. What's that? I have an input here. Instead of type text, I can change this guy to type of file. Paste this break. Password. So you see, if I choose, maybe I want you to upload a picture, right? You can select a picture on your system. You see the picture has been uploaded. This is a video, MP4. Go back to your system and then upload the file for me, basically. So this helps you to upload file. So there are a whole lot of those guys out there, right? But maybe these are some of the basics. You can, I'm sure you must have seen drop-down menus and all that, where there's a drop-down menu, select something. You have seen text areas where the text, where types things like address, you see the space is a bit larger and longer than this. Those are text areas. And then drop-down menus. we've talked about radio buttons, we've talked about the input and then some of the different types of inputs, right? So I think that is basically it for this slide HTML, right? I hope we have done justice to HTML, to the fundamentals of HTML. I hope we have done justice to it. So the two, basically what we're supposed to do today is what is CSS, CSS selectors, CSS colors and background, and CSS typography, right? So basically what we'll do in today's class on the two, because of our time, is we'll look at CSS, what is CSS selectors, and then maybe CSS colors, right? So maybe in tomorrow's class, I won't be the one taking the class. I want to reach out to one of our colleagues, my co-founder. I think she's on this call. I don't know if she left at some point. It's a lady. She will take us in the 3. That's tomorrow, if she's available. I know she usually have a lot of work. So I don't know if she'll be available, she'll take us in tomorrow's session, right? So I'll also tell her we have stopped. So basically, what is CSS? Back to this image. Let me open this up. Back to this image. Back to this image, right? CSS, his job is very simple and straightforward. He just adds beauty, full stop. That's just CSS. It is styling language to describe the presentation and appearance of your HTML elements on the web page. That's just the work of CSS. It allows web developers to define how the HTML element should be displayed, right? Including their color, sizes, layout, fonts, and many, many more. That's just the work of CSS. It's just used for styling of our HTML, layout and positioning, responsive design, so that, okay, when you're on mobile, when you're on desktop, the appearance should look a bit different. Typography, accessibility, that's just the work of CSS. It's basically to give beauty, right? So then in CSS, there are different ways you can actually make use of CSS in your code, right? You can actually write it inline, right? Let me go to our code base and then try to show us some stuff there. Okay, so maybe I can add a file here and call this file the 2.html. Save this guy. All right. So now you can easily generate a boilerplate, right, with just an exclamation mark. Like when I hit enter, it automatically generates this for me. So I can call this the 2. I save it. So remember, whatever I want to display on the browser, you type it in between the body section, right? Right? Hope that makes sense. So this is what is showing day 1. So let me change this URL from day 1 to day 2. Hit enter. Yep. So this is day 2. This is day 2. Here, there's nothing between our body section. So maybe I can put our H1. I call this guy CSS. Save it. And what does CSS this stands for? This guy acronyms. It stands for cascading. Cascading style sheets. So this is just what this guy stands for, right? So if I want this guy underlined, remember, I can select all these X, U on the line, save it. You can see, right? So maybe if I want this guy placed to the center, Command X, center. This is not a good way of doing this, but please, we have done it already and it worked, right? So this is it, right? Okay, so now I was talking of how you can actually make use of CSS in your code. You can now want to do UL or that on that list, LI. So you can actually make use of CSS inline. You can also make use of CSS internal. You can also make use of CSS external, right? So what does this mean? By inline, it means you're writing your CSS on the line, right? By internal, it means you're writing it somewhere within your page. By external, it means you're writing it some outside of this page and then you now connect it back to this page. That's for external, right? So there's the capital D, D2, right? So then the key thing I want us to look at and understand about this guy is CSS selectors. So we'll be looking at CSS selectors. Don't worry. So from the CSS selectors, we'll now come back to that. So this is CSS selectors. So I'll be learning the basic CSS selectors. Let me put our HR, save this guy. So the basic CSS selectors I want us to be looking at are sorry, let me take a cup of water. Okay, we'll be talking about CSS selectors. So let me make use of this tag. I'm writing this so that we'll get conversant with all of this, right? So we have the element selector. That's one. We have the class selector, LI. We have the class selector, right? So we also have another LI called the ID selector, right? There are a whole lot of other selectors out there, right? But these are the key fundamental ones that you cannot be making use of or be making use of within this short period. I don't want to start boring us with so many things. Yet, why I love the tech ecosystem is it's like a school that never ends. You keep learning every day, new things keep coming up and all that. So you mustn't learn everything before you can start working, right? Till date, I've been working with this for years and I keep learning every day. So just know it's a continuous learning process, right? All right, so then we have, let me put our HR here. So what's an element selector? First off, right? Element selector. Remember, you know, these are elements. LI is an element. UL is an element. U here is an element. H1 is an element. Right? So then another thing again I want us to quickly look at is the syntax. CSS syntax. What do I mean by CSS syntax? Let me call this H2. Oh, I mean H2. CSS syntax. Let me put my HR by syntax. It's just maybe the simple way how CSS is being written. And the simple way how CSS is being written is you have something like let's kindly draw. Okay. Okay. Why is this loading? Okay, I just wanted to quickly show us CSS selectors, how, okay, syntax, right? Good, okay, this is back. Ignore this chat. All right, this is how this thing actually looks like. It's like you have some sort of coily bracelets. Well, let me use this to make more sense. This should make more sense. So in writing your syntax, right, it first begins with a selector, right? You first write the selector name. right? Followed by by coily bracelets. Coily bracelet. These are coily bracelets. These guys. So in between here, sorry, that's you write your selector followed by this coily bracelet. So in between here, you now specify your declaration. That's the property column, the value. This is just the syntax. Selector, coily bracelet, property, value. Selector, coily bracelet, property, then the value, right? This for when you're writing either an internal or an external CSS. So now, if you want to do an internal CSS, all what you need to do is you can go to the element you want to style, and then you write this attribute called style equal to then this quotation. Inside of this quotation, remember property value, property value, property value. So I can have a property like color, and this color property change the color of this writing here. By default is written in black, right? So let's say I can specify a color of orange. You can see it's changed. This is the property, this is the value. I can specify. Now, see this underline we did here, right? If I don't want to use this tag, remember I told you guys that you can, all this text format, you can actually do it with your CSS. I can come here and also, okay, because I want to underline that, I can do something like text decoration. And look at the whole bunch of decorations. I want underline. I see, you see, it's being underlined. So this is a property, and then this is a value. And then I'm writing this CSS on the line in the opening tag. Immediately after the opening tag, you write style, quotation mark, color, which is the property value, right? So basically, this is how you write your inline CSS. So anything you want to style at all, if maybe I want to style just this particular guy here, I can come here and write, okay, style. Maybe I want to increase the font size, the font, how big it is, right? Font size, I want to make it 30 pixels. You see, only this one came out big. I want to even change your color to red. I can say, okay, color. I want your color to be red. You can see it's now red. So I've come down, it's just on this line. I hope that makes sense, right? It's just on this line. And what we are doing now, this is what we refer to as the inline CSS. You're writing it on the line, property value. So whatever property you want, you can declare it, and then the value, you can assign a value to it. So maybe I can do another thing like, okay, semicolon, I have, remember, everything should be in this quote. So at the end of every declaration, there's a semicolon for the inline, right? Semicolon. I want to have another text decoration, and then you can see text decoration. Yeah, maybe I still want it to be underlined, for example. See, underlined. You see it's underlined. So I can even change the style, font style, there are whole different, see, italic style, and a whole lot of them out there. Normal, okay, like I do this, I see, you can see it's written like this now. So this is inline CSS. You write the property and then the value. So we are writing it on the line. It's inline CSS. Inline CSS. I hope that makes sense. So then for the internal CSS, so to write your internal CSS, you usually write it within the head section, right? It's best to write it within the head section. So maybe I come here now to write it. You first begin with the style. You write it in between this opening and closing style attribute. So remember, we say selector first, right? Let's say I want to target I want to style all these H2. Remember, we talked about element selector, right? So H2 is an element. So if I just come here and say, okay, H2 is an element. coily bracelet in between here. And I can do something like, okay, text align center. You see now it has moved to the center. All the H2s have moved to the center because I call this element H2, and any element with that name H2 is going to respond to this. This is my selector, this is the property, and this is the value. So selector property value, right? So, and then this is an internal CSS. This is internal. I'm not writing it on the line like I wrote those other ones, right? So as well, I can even target all the LIs here, right? So maybe after this declaration, I want to do another one. I can come down and say, okay, LI, all the LIs here, semicolon. Let's say maybe I want to change the color to yellow, for instance. I could do something like color, let's say blue. You see, all the LIs are blue except this one. Why is that this one did not change to blue? I made use of an inline CSS. An inline has a higher priority over internal. That's why this didn't affect. But assuming there was no style here, assuming this didn't exist, you see it will also take the shape of the other ones. So this was internal, right? Sorry, this was inline, and then this is internal. And then the type of selectors we're making use of here is the element selector. So then what about the class selector? Let's say maybe I have p tag as okay, welcome to the intro to CSS. So this is a p tag, right? And then maybe I still have another p tag. Let me generate some random text. Frontend. Okay, for this p tag. Now I can give it a class. I come here, class. And then this class, I can call it like, okay, maybe welcome. Because this paragraph is talking about welcome, right? I can give this one another class. I call this guy like random X, right? So I can let me call this random text 1, and then let me generate another random text, and then I'll give it this guy to a class. No, let me give this guy an ID so that we'll use our opportunity to look about ID selectors, and then I'll call this guy random text 2, right? So now if I want to style these guys, I've given them a class. What's a class? You notice that I have these two guys, this p tag. Okay, let me random text. No, let me just leave it as random text. Let me generate another one so this will make more sense. Lorem 10. And then I give it this guy a class also, and call this guy random text also. So you also notice that this p tag and this p tag has this p tag here, and then this p tag. Hello guys, can you hear me?
Yes, sir,
we can.
Okay, great. All right. You notice that
we can.
All right, thank you. You notice that this p tag here and this p tag has the same name, random text. This one now has random text too. So a situation where you can give multiple elements. When I mean multiple, more than one element, the same class name, the same class name. But for ID, just one element is supposed to be given. That's every element should have a unique ID. As we're on this call, my NIN number is not the same as yours. My bank account number, you can't find the bank account number that the same, right? So those are unique identities, right? ID, when you're just talking about somebody's ID, is unique to that person. So this P tag, let's say I have another P tag, you can't give it another P tag ID with this name, random text 2, right? This random text 2 should be unique to this guy. So by a situation where I want to, maybe I have about 5 P tags and I want to give the same style to the 5 of them, I can give them the same class name, right? So if I come up here now to style, I can come up here to style. For class, to call a class, you first begin with a dot, full stop, a dot, followed by the name of the class, which is random text here. So dot random text, your curly bracelet, right? Then we can begin the styling. Let's give it a color of brown. Save. You see, that color is not obvious. I want something that's really obvious that you can see clearly. So you see red. So you see these two paragraphs have the same, right? I can increase the font size. I make it, you can specify the number actually, maybe 12 pixels. That's small actually. Let me give it like 30 pixels. Oh, sorry, I'm giving to the LI instead of here, right? So this is not where I wanted it to be, come out. I wanted it to be here. Yeah, these guys, you can see them now, right? Both of them, just these two. Then the other, so now what it is with this class name, let me just delete this. I'll bring it back. Let me cut it actually. Now, but a situation, if I come up here and I see P, for example, and now say, okay, color red. This is element selector. Anything that is P on this page is going to respond to this command. Let me see if you see. Everything that is P responded. But I don't want all the P. I just want maybe 2 P's. That's these 2 P's. Then that's why I can now come and give these 2 a class name. And then I say, okay, I just want these guys, only these 2 with this name to take that command. Is it just these 2? But if I make that mistake of coming here and saying,
hello, sir, your line is breaking. Okay. It's fluctuating.
Okay, sorry. How about now? Better?
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Is it from my end?
I think
I can hear you now, but your line was breaking.
Oh, was my network breaking?
Your line was breaking.
Yes, I think it's from him because we can hear
please,
you.
can you just mute everybody so that we hear when it's time for question, you give opportunity to do that, please.
All right.
Let's listen to one person.
Okay, let's wrap up. All right. So basically, if I do the mistake of saying P, you notice that all the P took this, but I don't want all the P's to take this. I just want 2 guys, this guy and this guy. So that's the situation where the use of class name comes into play, right? So I can come here and now give them that class name, random text, just the 2. Remember, class name begins with a dot. What about this other guy, ID? So that is it basically for class selectors. ID now, if you want an ID, this is the ID. To call an ID, you begin with the hash, name of the ID, curly bracelet, right? So now if I give this guy a color, maybe color of what? Let's give it this color and see. Yeah, you can see it, right? So let me say, okay, let me increase the font size to maybe 40 pixels. And I save this guy. You see it has increased. ID, begin with hash. Class, begin with a dot. Or you can call it with the tag or with the element's name. So we have talked about element selectors, class selectors, ID selectors. We've talked about inline CSS, extend and inline and internal, right? So basically what we'll be writing up here is an internal. Mind you, it's within the head section. And then what you write here on the opening tag is the inline CSS. So this is the inline CSS, and then this is the internal CSS. Then talking about the external CSS, for that external, you write it outside and then link it back to the file. I hope that makes sense. So any question? So basically, I want to believe we have covered CSS selector. So maybe in our session tomorrow, if my colleague, she's going to be available, I'll tell her to begin from CSS colors and backgrounds. You have CSS colors and backgrounds, and then talk about typography, then look at CSS selector. I think that's the main topic for tomorrow. I want to believe, if there is any question, please, you can unmute yourself now and shoot. Hello?
Okay, hello.
Yes. So if there's
I
a
don't know.
question, you can.
Yes, it's a question I want to ask.
All right.
You were using